welcome back to the Rave Social Podcast. I'm your host, Jaiden. If you didn't know, you probably know that by now, unless it's like your first time listening to this. And today we have a special guest, Fran. Fran is a VA, but also you're so much more than that, I would say, right? You do operations, you do Notion, Dubsado, everything you do. You're incredible. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got started, and who you like to serve?
Yeah. I actually did start my business working as a VA. So I started my business in the fall of 2020, and I was I saw a random video about becoming a virtual assistant, and I was like, cool, I'm about to graduate in the middle of the pandemic. That sounds like a great idea. So I did that, and obviously it's been a while since then, and it's kind of just led me on this path to where I am today. So my the title that I have given myself essentially is Client Experience Architect. And
yes.
What I do is pretty much build client experiences. So I strategize from, start to finish what an ideal client journey would look like, and then build them.
Yeah, no, you're a magician. I'm in some programs that Fran has designed client experiences for, and she's insane. It's so good. It's so easy to understand. Literally, I love Notion personally, but trying to develop Notion, my worst nightmare. I try to make a cube and I'm like, why is this not working? I don't understand. So to me, you are a magician.
Thank you. I'm going to actually change my title. Now I'm just a magician.
She is. No, seriously, so good. And I actually really want to talk to you about this because I feel like the client experience is something that is so overlooked. People really get into the nitty gritty of their offers and how they're delivering their offers. And photographers are worried about refining their editing style, all these different things we're worried about in our business. But the client experience actually has such a huge impact on the speed at which your business can grow, referrals, all these different things. So I'm so excited to talk about this. And my first question for you is what do you think, what are people doing wrong in their client experience that's impacting their businesses negatively?
Yeah, I actually love that you mentioned that it's something that's really commonly overlooked. I'm going to answer your question in a roundabout way, and I'll make my way back there eventually. But what you were saying reminded me of a conversation that I was having really recently with one of my past clients who's a friend of mine now. We worked together at the beginning of last year. I think. I don't know. Anyway, she was telling me how it's so common in the online business space to have a bad investment experience, or even multiple ones where what you signed up for is just not what you get. Whether it's I have heard horror stories of people that have paid thousands of dollars for something and then literally gotten nothing out of it. But then there's obviously the side where it's maybe you get something really good from it, but the experience of receiving that is just not organized, and you don't really know what's going on, and you just feel this isn't what I thought I was paying for. And I feel it's getting to the point where so many people have had those types of experiences that if you are not prioritizing your client experience as a business owner, you're essentially, I don't even know how to describe it. You're basically communicating to your clients that you're not really prioritizing them because you're
honestly.
Here, I'm really good at what I do, and you're gonna get this really cool thing, but I don't really care about the way that you experience that. And that has a really, really big impact on your business. So one of the things that I have started doing in the past couple of years is actually like a client experience research survey, which has been really interesting. And one of the questions that I ask on it is like, if you work with a service provider and like the deliverables are really good and like high quality, but the experience is not optimized, how does that impact like whether you would refer that person to somebody else or work with them again? And I think it was like over 80% of people said that they would not work with that person again, and like half of that said they wouldn't refer them to people. So it's something that really impacts, like you were saying, just the ability to grow your business in a sustainable way, especially when it comes to referrals and repeat clients. So circling back to your original question of like, what kind of mistakes are people making? I think the number one mistake is really like not prioritizing it and like not understanding how big of an impact it has on your business and your clients, but also on you as the business owner. So like one of the things that I talk about a lot when it comes to client experience is that it's something that should be beneficial to you as the business owner in addition to being beneficial to your clients. Because when you think about it, like if you're setting up the back end of your business and you're setting up like automations and templates and stuff and like everything to just make the process smoother and more streamlined, those are all things that should benefit you as well. And they should be designed in a way that like supports you and works with your brain, and like you're not using platforms that you hate.
No, I was just thinking that as you were talking about making the client experience good for obviously the client, and I just thought like how important it is also for you as the business owner or like your employees or contractors, because it simplifies everything and then it makes your business easier to scale. Like this is totally something that I've seen come up in my business as I've tried to scale over the years. Is like the biggest roadblock for me usually isn't like getting enough clients. It's usually managing them. Like I can get them, but how do I manage all of them? Like that's really complicated, and that is where the client experience I feel like comes in.
Yeah, 100%. And the client experience is like, it's something that's so just interconnected with other parts of your business. And like having a team is one of those pieces that it's like interconnected to, because when it comes to like client experience and backend systems, one of the things that obviously we're doing is like creating templates and streamlining the process and like setting it up in a way that there's structure. And having that structure is like, it makes it so much easier for you to bring people into your business, because then there's something for them to follow. Like they know what's supposed to be going on, and it's not just kind of like, chaos, everything going on all over the place, and somebody's coming in and being like, what the hell is going on here? And that's something that I see people make the mistake of a lot, is like when they get to a point where they're feeling overwhelmed in their business and like they can't keep up on everything. A lot of times the instinct is to hire a VA. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but most of the time it's not going to be the investment that actually like fixes what's going on in your business, because it's more of a reactive approach instead of a proactive approach. So like hiring a VA when you don't have like systems and like templates in place already is really just like throwing somebody into a fire and being like, here you go, figure out how to get out of this. And what that also often leads to is like, if you're somebody who's hiring a VA and that's the situation that you're throwing them into, you're probably going to feel like they don't know what they're doing and they're not getting anything done. And it's not because like they're bad at what they're doing. It's because they don't have any like structure or anything to follow, or like maybe they don't have SOPs, or like there's not anything that's been documented for them to know what they're supposed to be doing. Because VAs, like their role is to just like go in and like do something. Like there are definitely doers. And if they don't have instructions and like templates and structures to work from, then they're not going to be able to succeed at their role. So it's really, really important to have like your backend systems and your client experience optimized before you're bringing those type of people into your business, because it's going to make the process way easier for everybody that's involved.
Wow, Fran, you just like are blowing my mind. And also, I'm like, we need you to create more content for yourself about your like history of being like coming from a VA background into what you're doing, because like you fully, because of that experience, like you fully understand the entire process, which I don't think a lot of people can see that full picture, like, you know? So yeah. I'm really like, because I didn't know any of this like really about you. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is crazy and so real. Like, I like you just totally like perspective shifted me, because even in my own business, I've been like, okay, like I need like an operations manager or something, but it's like, I don't know how they're supposed to like manage the operations if like there's no processes and there's no like you're saying, like no documented way to do it. Like how are they're just going to feel confused and like you said, like be bad at their job, and it's like not their fault. They're not good. It's like my fault they're not good. So that's so interesting. And it leads me to a question that I have for you about automations and templates, because I do feel like people sometimes feel like, oh, does it give AI, or like does it feel impersonal? How do you balance that so that it doesn't feel that way?
That is a great question. And I love that you asked that, because I feel like automations do sometimes get a really bad rap, and people are like, no, like I don't want things just like sending out when I don't have control over it, and things like potentially getting messed up. I would say that the most important aspect when it comes to having automations that feel personal is, number one, you don't have to automate every single part of your process. And truthfully, like that's never the goal, at least in the way that I work with clients. The goal with automation is really to have like a repeatable process where the places are already kind of like lined up for you. And I don't know if I said places or pieces, but I meant pieces. Anyway, the pieces are already lined up for you. So then you're kind of just like going through and like essentially like checking off the boxes as you go. Like maybe some things are going out automatically, and then some things like require your approval so that you can just like edit a couple of words in the email before it gets sent out. But one of the really like impactful parts of having personalized automations is actually like the canned email templates that you're using for them. So that's actually one of the reasons why I like partner with a copywriter for all of my projects, because that is like a really important aspect of how the automations feel, because like that impacts whether they feel robotic or whether they feel like they're coming from an actual person. And I think that a lot of the times when people are thinking about automations and it's kind of giving them the ick, it's probably because they've received like a canned email template that was like so obviously just like the most default thing. Like somebody just wrote, you know, in 5 minutes and didn't put any thought into it, or it's like, you know, the default one from whatever platform they're using. So that's definitely not what we're going for when it comes to automations. It should really just be like, it should feel like you wrote an email to send to like an actual person, and it just happens to be going out without you having to do anything. Like that's the vibe that I want to bring when I'm like building out automations for clients. And I think that one of the things that's really important about like implementing a more personalized aspect of automations is like being really clear on your brand voice. Because if you don't know what your brand voice is, it's really hard to like write templates that sound like you. So one of the things that I am like pretty frequently recommending to my clients when I do So like my like main service, the client experience revamp, we start with the client experience audit, and that looks at like everything, like including like your brand presentation. And one of the things that I'm recommending, like probably 50% of the time, is like you need to do brand voice work and like work with a copywriter and figure out what your brand voice is. Yeah, because we want it to be consistent, like not even just in terms of your emails feeling personal, but like your brand voice should be consistent across like your socials and those canned emails and like your website, so that everything feels cohesive and it doesn't feel like somebody's jumping from like one brand to the other when they're going through different parts of that experience of working with you. Because ultimately, like, and I'm sure you can speak to this, but like it kind of starts with your socials, because that's where a lot of people are finding you. And so if you're going from that and there's a certain like vibe on your socials, and then you go to like your website and they're like, okay, this is like matching the vibe. And then they get into your client experience and it's like all of these emails that sound like they were written by somebody working a corporate 9-to-5. They're going to be like, what is going on here?
No, seriously. And one question I have for you. Okay. My brain just like literally like a squirrel happened. It was like, oh, this, and then also that. Oh yes. Okay. So I was going to ask something about the client experience. So within like the client experiences that you build, there's like one side of it, right? That's like client facing. But then there's another side of it that is internal facing. And that's kind of what we're talking about with automations, where it's like you may need to like approve this email before it's sent, or you need to change something in it before it's sent. Does your client experience take into consideration like the moving parts within the business? Like, okay, at this point we need graphics created. At this point we need this questionnaire sent out. Like, how are you connecting the external experience with the internal experience for brands?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say when I am mapping out a client experience, it would include like all of those things, because ultimately, like if a questionnaire needs to be filled out, for example, like that needs to be sent to the client at some point, and there needs to be an email to send that questionnaire. So it's all kind of like connected in that way. So one of the like, basically when it comes to client experience, one of the almost like pre-steps to being able to determine what that is actually understanding like what steps exist in the process for each of your services. And when I talk about like processes, a lot of people feel like that is like some big scary term, but in my mind it's literally just like, okay, have you written out like the steps in order of like what you're doing and what the client needs to do for a service? Like that's all you really need to know. But if you don't know that, then it's really difficult to like actually put together a client experience, because then we don't know what needs to be happening in it.
That makes so much sense. That brings me to another question, that is, what are your favorite tools then for setting up things like this? Because like I use HoneyBook, which I know is like tragic, but I just can't switch. Like that just sounds like a nightmare. But I know you're like big on Dubsado, but like what are your favorite platforms and how do you like them to all work together?
Yeah, that's a good question. I will confess, I used to be a HoneyBook hater, like capital H hater. However, I have come to have a better relationship with HoneyBook. I work in HoneyBook still, so like I do projects in both Dubsado and HoneyBook. I think they've come a long way, and I'm actually a really big fan of Automations 2.0. So claps HoneyBook, we love that for you. But in terms of the platforms that I like to use, definitely a CRM. So like I said, Dubsado and HoneyBook are the ones that I'm working in most frequently. And like they both at this point have pretty much the same capabilities. Like there are a couple of things that are different in terms of like what one can do and what one can't do. But in terms of like figuring out which platform is best for you, this is definitely where your preference, like as the business owner, I feel like comes into play, because I'm never going to be like, you should use Dosado because, you know, I like it better. Because if you log into Dosado and you're like, I hate the way that this looks and I never want to do anything in here, then that's not going to be like helpful for your business, because you're not going to want to like, you know, go in and send a proposal or approve a workflow action or like whatever it might be. So I feel like that's one of the situations where I'm like, just choose the one that feels better to you, especially in the situation where like they are pretty much equal in terms of what they can accomplish. Like the exception to that would be if you have like a very specific feature need that like, you know, you need for your business and like maybe one has and one doesn't, then obviously like that might be a case for just kind of like dealing with one that maybe you don't like as much. So definitely the CRM. And then the other platform that like I really like to work with for client experiences is a project management platform. Notion is my favorite. And the reason why I feel like project management and client experience are so connected is because like, sorry, that's my alarm reminding me to drink water.
Okay, everyone, make sure you go drink your water.
Go take a little sip.
I love that so much.
Anyway, the reason why I feel like project management and like client experience are so connected is because the way that you have things organized on the back end of your business is going to directly impact your client experience, not just from like the CRM standpoint. I feel like is more obvious because that's like something that directly it like interacts with the client. Like they're filling out forms, they're paying their invoice, like whatever. They're getting emails. Whereas like the project management is more of like a back end type situation. But if you don't have like a clear way to keep track of the projects that you have going on and like the tasks that you need to be completing for them, or like if you have a team or you work with like contractors, the tasks that like those people need to be completing, that's going to impact your client experience because you're probably not going to always know what needs to be happening. And that's going to lead to like, you know, the client not feeling like they know what's going on if you don't know what's going on. And also more than likely delays in the timeline if you don't have a clear picture of like what you need to be doing at any certain like point in time. So I can speak from my own experience with this. I didn't have a project management tool until 2022. So like 2 years into my business. And this is the way that I was operating. I was like just booking projects and I was just like starting them whenever. And I would just like kind of, I don't know, work on what I thought I needed to work on and like maybe write down a to-do list of like things to do that day. But then what would happen is like I would literally forget about projects for like multiple weeks because they were just like out of sight, out of mind. And then I would be like, oh shit, like I haven't done anything for this project for 2 weeks. I really need to get on that. And it was just chaos because I never knew like what I needed to be doing. And obviously the client like, you know, didn't have an optimal experience because I was all over the place. And also it was like really anxiety inducing to just wake up every day and be like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing for all of these projects that I have booked. So
I'm dead. That's so funny. You're just like, and I guess I'll do whatever I want. I don't know.
I was like, why do I always feel like I have a million things to do and I'm never getting anything done? And it's like, oh, well, duh. So, yeah.
No, I think that happens to everyone, like, at some point in their business. And if it's not... if it's not like that specific thing, like there's something in your business that you were like flying by the seat of your pants, just like hoping that it would like get done correctly or on time. Like everyone's had that. So very relatable experience.
Yeah, so that's why I love also working in project management platforms, especially for my clients that are like service providers. So I work with a lot of like creative service providers. So that could be like designers or copywriters or like marketing professional, like kind of broad category. Yeah. And like those people are often either working on like a project, like they have services that have like a start and an end date, or they have retainers, or like a combination of both. And especially if you're somebody who works on like a project basis, like having a project management tool is so important for like so many reasons, because again, like you can actually keep track of what you need to be doing, and then you're not just like waking up in the morning and being like, what do I need to work on today? But it's also really, really helpful for understanding like your capacity and when you can book projects without like overbooking yourself, because you can have a way to visualize like what you have on the calendar and, you know, what tasks are going to be added to your to-do list if you book a project on like whatever day. So yeah, we love a project management tool.
Love that. That was literally my next question, is I was going to say how do you support people? Cause that's one thing you said that you do is like help support business owners with how much capacity they actually have. Because I do think like it can get so chaotic, like you think you have more time than you do, or it could be the opposite way too, like you think you're more booked than you are, and like managing that is so hard. It's a really big challenge with business ownership, is like balancing that, and especially as you start to scale, balancing like, okay, so how many clients can I realistically onboard, even if I'm not doing all like the day-to-day work on the program because I have support. It's just, it can be really tricky to figure out how to make that work. And I don't think we talk about it enough. I'm going to say it because
I agree.
Like on the internet, people are just like, scale. And it's like, okay, but like if I just double my income and double my client load, where are the hours in the day going to come from to like do that? You know, it's so much more complicated than people make it seem on the internet.
Yes, I agree. And I'm really happy that we're talking about this because I have a lot of thoughts.
I love it.
Okay, I would say when it comes to like capacity and figuring out how much you realistically have time for, the first place that I would start is tracking your time. And I know that like that's not something that a lot of us think to do if we're not billing on like an hourly rate, and you don't need to track your time. But it's something that I started doing a couple of years ago and has been really, really, really impactful, because then it gives me a clear picture of, number one, like how long things are taking me, and number two, what I'm spending the most of my time on. So I can either figure out like, if it's something I'm spending a lot of time on, is there a way that I can make it more efficient? Or is it something that I want to outsource? Or is it something that like I just need to get rid of? But once you understand how long like the tasks that you have to do for clients are taking you, then you can kind of like get a better picture of, okay, if this is taking me this amount of time and I'm working with this many clients, like these are all of the hours that I, essentially need to be working during any given week. And then that's when you can start to see like, okay, I want to be working 20 hours a week, but with the current client load that I'm at right now, I actually am putting like 30 hours a week on my schedule, or 40 hours a week on my schedule. And so that's where you can start to really like make shifts, and just like have a better understanding of like what is too much. And I would say another part of being able to scale is like your pricing. So like this is something that I feel like I've had to adjust a lot in the past year. And it started with me having a conversation with my bookkeeper where we talked about like the pricing for my services and whether or not I could actually hit my income goals with them being that way. And then I was like, okay, so I need to raise my prices a little bit. So that was a really helpful place to start and has been like one of the things that has enabled me to understand a lot better, like how I can essentially like match my capacity in terms of like how much I actually want to be working with like the amount of income that I need to be making, and like make those two things work together. Because if you don't have like the data to go off of to make those decisions, then you're pretty much just guessing at what's gonna happen. And like
you're guessing.
Yeah.
I'm like guilty. I'm so guilty of that, because like it's been one of my goals to scale to like consistent 40K months. And it seems like every time I try, I don't do it. But then it's so funny because I've been going through a big like restructuring of how my business is going to operate over the next year. And I've done so much looking at the data. And it's like, it's as simple as, okay, you want to have 40K months. Okay, how many clients is that per month at your current rate, you know? And then I'm looking at that like, well, that's a clearly unmanageable amount of clients. Like, that's not possible. So then you look at, okay, well, then maybe I need to raise my rates. And obviously there's other things that go into raising your rates, like demand and things like that. But it's funny how we overcomplicate things based on like our emotions. Like, instead of looking at the numbers or looking at the spreadsheet or looking at your calendar and like realistically looking at how much time you have, we just like make it crazier and harder than it is in our minds. And something else you said about how many hours you want to work per day, it made me think, because there was a point in time, which you've been in the online space long enough that you totally experienced this, but coaches were like, you can't work you can't work hourly, right? They were saying that. And it's like, that's always going to be a foundation of business, is knowing how much you're worth per hour. Because exactly what you're saying, I want to work 20 hours a week and I want my income to be this much. That directly translates to like dollars per hour that you are going to charge. And I think like, I don't know, it might just be me and I'm like projecting this onto the whole world, but like that got in my mind where I was like, well, your value is more than like hours per, like, are you really going to be selling yourself for $200 an hour or whatever? But like in reality, that's what it comes down to. And I think we're afraid of that. Well, I'm afraid of that.
It's also like really important, especially if you are somebody who does like custom pricing for any of your services. So like for me, my main service is custom quote for every single person. So like if I genuinely don't know like what I need to be charging per like 1 hour of my own time, I'm just going to be like willy-nilly picking a number to charge people and then being like, oh, I hope I meet my income goals this month, which is like, literally what I was doing for like the past 2 years.
No, it is so challenging.
Yeah, but I also feel like when it comes to all of this around like capacity planning and like looking at data and stuff like that, I think a lot of people shy away from it because it feels like a lot of structure, and we, I think, naturally associate structure with like there being no flexibility and like very like rigid and like this is the way you have to do it. And it's like, actually you need to have a structure in place in order to have flexibility in your business. And like that's something that I talk about a lot, because it's like, if you are just like, for example, you're somebody who wants to have like a really intuitive led schedule, but if you don't have like a project management tool and you don't know like what tasks you need to be doing during a certain time, like during the certain week or like, you know, month or whatever. You're just going to be waking up every morning, and instead of like feeling like you can intuitively go out through your day, you're just going to feel anxious because you don't know what needs to be done. Like, you will have a better success like going through your day following your intuition if you know, like, okay, there are 3 things that I need to get done today. It doesn't matter what time of day they get done, and the rest of my day can look however I want it to look. But like, these are the 3 things that I need to get done today. You know what I mean?
Oh, I love that you said that so much, because it is like, it's all of this like, and I don't want to just be like, oh, it's the freaking like online business industry. But a lot of it is because like most of us are women who came from corporate jobs where we felt like we were in prison and like had no control over our lives or our days or whatever. And so like, it's that pendulum, right? Like, you go from that to being like, I don't want any structure. Like, I just want to like get paid to like sit on my couch and like do cute or whatever. And it's like, but there's actually a really healthy balance of the structure and the flow. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's a little bit wooey, but it's like the balancing the feminine and the masculine of like, well, the feminine like doesn't flow without like the masculine container in any sense of the way. And I like to think of it like a river, where like you have the riverbed, that's the masculine containing the river that gets to flow through it. And it's the same thing in our businesses. Like, you have to have a container to hold it, and then it can flow.
Yes. And it's not like you're trying to force energy to go in a specific way. It's literally just like directing it. And that's not like,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like controlling, like the corporate controlling energy. Instead, it can just be like the shape, the form, whatever. Like, and then within that, anything can happen. No, I love that. And honestly, that's definitely not something I struggle with that much, because I am a Capricorn in so many ways. So the structure is not something I struggle with, but I have seen how not having the right systems, automations, things like that supporting my business, instead like trying to do it all, like make sure I'm the one that's controlling and doing it all, has negatively impacted my business growth or even just my health, like trying to do it all, you know?
No, that's like a really big, I feel like, talking point, because one of the things that I notice so frequently is that a lot of my clients are people who are like actually very organized and on top of things and like are managing a lot of things at one time successfully. But it's like the cost of you being the sole person that's responsible for like running a business or providing a great client experience or like whatever it is gets to be like so taxing after a while, because you feel like you can never step away from anything without wondering if something is going to be like, you know, an email reminder needs to get sent or an invoice needs to get sent or whatever it might be. And a lot of the people that I work with are actually like already providing a really good client experience. But the issue is that it's reliant 100% on them doing everything manually or like most things manually. And that is just not sustainable, not even from a standpoint of like if you're somebody who wants to scale, but just as a human being who has like energy limitations, especially if you're somebody who like has energy limitations, like if you're neurodivergent or if you have a chronic illness or if you're like a parent or a caregiver or like, you know, there are a lot of other things that fall into that category, but like you can't depend on the fact that you will have like 100% of your energy every single day. And when you're the person that's doing everything, like that's essentially what you're demanding of yourself.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I feel like mic drop. I don't even know. Like, you convinced me. Wow. So good, Fran. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. And you've like totally changed my mind. It's incredible. I've loved this conversation. Before we go, I do have 2 questions for you. The first one is, if listeners could implement just like one system this week, what would it be? Or even maybe it's not a system that they need to implement, but like, what should they do this week to get started on a path that's more supportive?
Okay, I would say if you're not somebody that is already tracking your time, start doing that this week. I personally use Toggle, and I feel like it's a pretty easy app to use. Like, you just start it and stop it when you change tasks. And it, like, for me, it took a little bit to get in the habit of like doing that. But once you do it for a while, it kind of just like becomes second nature. So if you're not already tracking your time, that would be like the homework assignment that I would give you. And if you are already tracking your time, what I would say is do a little time audit where you're looking at like the data for the past 3 months and seeing how long things are taking you and like what's eating up the most amount of your time, and also how many hours you're working per week versus how many hours you want to be working per week, because all of those are going to be really important things to inform like the shifts that you might want to make in the future based off of like everything that we talked about today.
Yeah, I love that so much. And my final question for you is, what is one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self? This could be in business or in your personal life, whatever you want.
That's a good question. I would say if I could give a piece of advice to my younger self, like personal advice, it would be to not put all of my value and worth in what other people think of me.
I love that so much. And it's so easy to say it, but it's something I feel like we all deal with. Like, just basically giving other people power with their thoughts, or even like just like our perception of their thoughts. Like, they may not even think that, but we think that they think that. Like, I don't know. It's just, it can totally just hold you back from being fully expressed in the world.
100%.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for being on today. We're going to link Fran's Instagram and your website and everything. But if you guys are interested in working with Fran, I can say I've been the recipient of Fran's work, and it's amazing. Her client experience is great. Fran's awesome to work with, and you should definitely hire her.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.